Two teams, same aisle, same budget, one question. Will the Pirates actually compete or just let the Royals take what they want?
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to Locked On Pirates, your daily podcast for all things Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan, former editor at SteelCityPirates.com, covering the team since 2019 and a lifelong fan who knows what it means to stick with the Bucs through thick and thin. Before we dive in, a huge shout out to our everydayers. You make this show possible. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, join the conversation. Today's episode is going to be packed. Segment 1, we're going to do the Royals versus the Pirates. They're both shopping in the same aisle this offseason, and I'm going to tell you why Pittsburgh needs to fight for what it wants. Segment 2, the battle of the Knicks, Nick York versus Nick Gonzalez. Who wins second base? And in segment 3, we're going to do an advanced stats spotlight. What is Wobicon and why does it matter? Before we get into it, though, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So the general managers meetings are happening in Las Vegas this week, and this is where the conversations tend to get started. For trades and signings and all the groundwork for the offseason, really. John Morosi reports that the Royals are evaluating the outfield trade market. It makes sense. Their outfield was a disaster in 2025. A 225, 285, 348 slash line with a 73 WRC plus. It's the worst in baseball. That's 27% below average. Now let's compare that to the Pirates. Pirates outfield wasn't elite either, obviously. A 238, 309, 392 line with a 91 WRC plus. That's still below average, but it's far better than Kansas City. Pirates have more upside. Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz in the mix and some power potential, but they still need help in the corners. Both teams have similar payroll situations. The Royals' payroll is going to be higher than the Pirates by a good measure, too, but they have about the same amount to spend. Neither of these teams is going to sign Kyle Tucker or Cody Bellinger. Both are going to look to trades. Morosi seems to think the Angels and Red Sox are possible partners. Gee, where have you heard that before, right? The Angels have that logjam with Trout and Ward, Adele, Soler, and we talked about what Ward and Adele did. Those are going to be guys that both these teams should be interested in. The Red Sox, they've got Duran. He's the only one I've heard 100% is available. But, Abreu, they've got some different options there that you can at least talk about. Here's the point. The Royals are going to be aggressive. They'll move pitching to get an outfielder. They did it last year. The Pirates, they have better chips than Kansas City. They could beat the Royals for anyone they want if they choose to compete. That's the big if. That's the big point. Does this front office have the competitive fire to do so? History says no. They'll wait, they'll bargain shop, and they'll let Kansas City take the prime options. That's the difference between building a contender and just filling holes. And if the Pirates want to win 83 games and make the playoffs, this is the aisle they need to shop in. And they need to do it first. They need to not miss here. We talk about the front office of this team being non-competitive, right? And I've had fans ask me, why does that matter? Why does it matter that they're not competitive? They're not playing the games. All the players are competitive, surely. Well, this is where it matters because this is when it is a competition for them. And that lack of competitiveness rears its ugly head. This is a situation where you have Ben Cherington putting out there to the world that they want to spend, and I don't know if it's a direct quote because it came from a journalist, but Ken Rosenthal says the Pirates want to spend a little bit, and the Marlins too. Now, considering the Marlins and the Pirates barely spent anything, in fact, the Marlins, I believe, actually did spend nothing last year in free agency, and they also had, 78 wins. So, maybe don't judge a book by its cover all the time. But these are two teams that claim they're going to spend a little bit in free agency, whatever that means, whatever that really means. The point is, go get it. Because there's other teams like the Royals that are out there looking for the same exact thing. They're not the only ones. I probably could have named about 10 teams that are going to be fishing in the same kind of barrel as the Pirates should be for the same type of players from all the same lists of teams that may or may not have them. But you're going to find quickly you got about 2 bites at the apple before you're through the best options that are going to be available on the trade block. And if the Pirates want one of them, they need to be upfront, aggressive, quick, and they need to use their buying power. If you go to a used car lot and someone has their eye set on that car that you just got to have, if you offer a little bit more, you're going to get it. I mean, you're going to win that competition if you offer just a little bit more. The Royals don't have the money to blow you out of the water. They have more willingness to spend than the Pirates have traditionally, and they will spend more overall, but they don't have as much room before they get there as the Pirates do. So they're in a perfect situation to win things like this. We talk about how unfair Major League Baseball is, and it is. It's set up unfair. You're never going to line up all the economics there, but your competition for what you're looking for is in very similar place to you. You're not going to get too many better opportunities to go out there and put your stamp on the situation. Go out there and dictate what the trade season looks like because you started it. Be one of the first teams that goes out and jumps on one of those big names. Don't just say things this offseason. Do them. Get us set up before the holidays. Let's not sweat through the holiday. Let's go and get the players that we think we want now. Let's give free agents a little bit of a view of what they're coming into here. Let's not make them feel like they're all we're going to do. Let's have some things done. Let's make a few of these deals. Let's swap a few players. Let's get out there and get aggressive. You have buying power, but that buying power diminishes as what's available for sale starts to diminish. The cool thing about having nice pieces to trade is that you should be able to be in on just about anything you want. The thing that sucks about having nice things to trade is that if you miss on that initial wave, there's a good chance that you're holding on to $100 bills that nobody's going to break. You might have pieces that are just too nice to sell for what's actually there. That's a real fear I have going into this offseason, and one that the Pirates can only avoid by being aggressive and smart. Two things that they don't do, but that's what has to happen. And maybe I'm a fool for calling out the Royals directly. I'm sure there's other teams that probably fit this comparison almost just as well. But the Royals, to me, are one of those teams that, if I'm the Pirates, they're one of the few I'm not going to let directly beat me head-to-head for stuff like this. I'm going to go out there and try to take it. And that's what I want the Pirates to do. And speaking of competition, let's bring it a little bit closer to home. If the battle for second base comes down to Nick York versus Nick Gonzalez, who should win? Let's break that down. NFL season is back. And honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a real hassle. Between K's, long login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time for last night's Steeler game just a couple hours before it started. Saw tickets on there for about $1.50. Good luck getting those in advance, right? Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Hey everyone, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure that you everydayers feel appreciated because you really are the heartbeat of this show. And I just want to let you know that in the near future, we're going to be offering something pretty cool, a new Everydayers Club. I don't have all the details on it quite yet, but it's going to involve extra content for you if you sign up very affordably. Again, I don't have all the details, but there's going to be email correspondences, special access to things that are just for you. Should be pretty neat. Look forward to that. So let's talk second base. If it comes down to Nick York versus Nick Gonzalez for playing time, well, who has the edge? I think on the surface, most people would immediately say Nick Gonzalez, right? I think that's probably where my head goes too, but it feels like it's worth looking into. A career 257 average, 14 homers, 92 RBIs, and that's over 225 games for Nick Gonzalez. In 2024, 270 average, one of the higher marks on the team, 7 home runs. Certainly would like a little bit more production out of him there. 49 RBI, 94 games. He came back from that fractured ankle and he hit 260 in 96 games. So, yeah, I mean, that was last year. I think he was pretty good after he came back. I didn't see too many lingering effects from the ankle. Defense kind of impressed me a little bit at second base. I thought he was a little better than he was the year before, which is nice. He definitely got better at moving towards first base and making plays than he had been, but I still think there's something a little wonky there. Turning double plays for sure he got great at. And that was with really not having a super consistent shortstop situation or really a great shortstop situation, because even when IKF was there, it's not like he was good. I guess Nick's probably more versatile. He can play shortstop and third base, obviously. He has elite bat speed, but we just haven't seen it translate into power. And I kind of don't want to make this about the other positions. I want to make this about second base because I feel like whichever one of them performs better probably should take over second base. And I think it's that kind of competition. I really do. Nick York, career 226 average, only 3 home runs, 13 RBI, 24 hits. He doesn't play nearly as much, but he debuted late in 2024 after coming over from Boston in the Quinn Priester trade. Strong hitting profile in the minors, limited major league sample. The major argument here really is Gonzalez has proven he can hit at this level. He's versatile. He's shown improvement. He brings a little more pop. York is intriguing, but he's still kind of establishing himself. If it's a straight competition, the edge goes to Gonzalez for me. That said, York could carve out a role, especially if Gonzalez struggles or injuries pop up, and he certainly had the injury bug. But right now, doesn't it seem like it would be really hard to not have Gonzalez be the guy? I mean, drop your thoughts in the comments. I really would like to hear it. Like, and let's not assume that they're both so good that they get spots elsewhere. You know, I think you could have a fair conversation about should Jared Triolo be the third baseman, or should we consider letting the loser of the Nick Gonzalez battle potentially play in that? Should maybe Nick Gonzalez start at shortstop? These are a lot of assumptions based on them not doing anything, too. I mean, like, I've made this a two-man horse race for second base, but if the Pirates bring in a third baseman, well, that moves Triolo. And then Triolo is either going to play shortstop or enter the second base competition, right? If they get a third baseman and a shortstop, let's say they shock the world and they go and do extra. I mean, like, we're always worried about if they'll do anything. Let's just go ahead and give them credit that they did extra, okay? So if they go do that, well, then what do you do, period? I mean, you're not going to be able to have all three of these guys make it. You might be able to pretend one of them can play first base for you whenever Spencer Horwitz isn't. You might be able to pretend that one or two of them could find a way to play out in the outfield. I know Jared Triolo could. I know he has that capability. Nick York got to be a corner, and even then, you're probably pushing the boundaries of what you should really do with him. And Nick Gonzalez, I just haven't seen him in the outfield. You know, to be fair, second base is really his best spot. And the other side of this whole conversation about second base is, well, what if it just doesn't really matter beyond this year? What if Termar Johnson's ready? I mean, he's got to play second base or DH. Those are the spots. Like that's what's got to happen. I feel like this is starting to barrel towards either the easiest solution, Nick Gonzalez and Nick York. Between the two of them, one of them's just not good enough. That could happen. Or one of them becomes a trade piece. That could happen too. And I know it seems weird to be talking about maybe trading any kind of offense from this team, but I think you really could see that sort of thing shake out. It's going to be a weird competition. I don't think they're ready to have the competition, frankly. The other thing that I think about Nick York is I think they really should have pushed through the struggles that he was having in AAA last year, especially when you got to the point where you kind of knew the season was going a certain kind of way. It just felt to me like that was the time to get a lot of these bits and pieces up here and push aside the things that you knew weren't coming back. Pirates took the opposite approach, and I mean to the extreme, by keeping Tommy Pham and keeping IKF for as long as they did, and even keeping Andrew Heaney for as long as they did. That more than what they could have potentially gotten back for any of those guys, which to me is just negligible. But more than anything, it was about not answering questions on some of these guys that they need answers for. Wouldn't it feel a little bit better if you had seen a little bit more of Hunter Barco in the majors? Wouldn't we be a little bit further ahead if we saw a little bit more of Nick York? What if they brought up Billy Cook and had him play some outfield when we really needed to see somebody do something in the outfield? There's a lot of decisions that they made last year that I think affected their ability to at least understand the pieces that they do have right now. We're relying so much on growth for 2026 to be successful, and I don't think there's any way to avoid it. So you're going to have to look at competitions like Nick versus Nick, and you're going to have to really understand the importance that they play and whether this team makes a step forward or not. A wrong decision there could set them back. A right decision there, and you could really be setting yourself up for something good. You could wind up having both of them make the team, and then they kind of just battle for it all year. You can see that too. Hey, after last year, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibilities that Nick York just doesn't make the team. I mean, they don't seem like they feel like they have to do it, and I find that weird. You traded a first round pick for him. He's a first round pick. He's shown you some pedigree. He's the right age. You need offense. It's so frustrating that he wasn't up here earlier so that we got to see a lot more. That's all. We wasted so much time on guys that we knew were gone. Now, while we're talking about evaluating players, let's dig into a stat that tells you how much damage a hitter does when they actually make contact. Ever heard of Wobicon? Let's break it down next. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter big comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game interesting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to fanduel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you follow me on socials. You can find me on X at GaryMO2007, Gary Morgan on Facebook or wherever else, and Locked On Pirates, just anywhere you like to hang out. Check it out. And I'll be there popping up little quips and quotes and things that we like to talk about here. Even hints about what might be coming on the next episode. You can find on all the socials. Check it out. So, advanced stat school, you guys said you wanted me to keep doing this, so I'm going to keep doing it. Today, we're going to wrap with a stat. You'll hear more about this offseason, and it's Wobicon. It's weighted on base average on contact. So, what does it measure? The offensive value of a hitter only when they make contact. So, walks and strikeouts don't count, just batted balls. It weights singles, doubles, triples, and homers by their actual run value. Why does it matter? It isolates contact quality. How much damage does a hitter do when they put the ball in play? It's more predictive than batting average or BABIP, which we've also done here and may do again, because it focuses on skill, not luck. Compare WOBA or WOBA versus Wobicon to spot regression. If a player has a high Wobicon but a low WOBA, they might be getting unlucky. So for fans, a high Wobicon tends to mean a hitter crushes the ball when they connect. A low Wobicon tends to mean weak contact, even if the batting average looks okay. So the next time you hear about a trade, check their Wobicon. It tells you if they're making quality contact. It's not the only thing that I like to use for this. I do personally like BABIP. I enjoy getting to see a little bit of what luck does do. And I don't think Wobicon applies for everybody. It's one of those stats that kind of honestly puts somebody like Luis Arraez in perspective a little bit. Okay? Because he does do well with getting on base and everything, but he has a low Wobicon because of the weak contact. So even though the batting average looks good, you get the impression that there's a little bit left to be desired as far as this stat goes. This isn't one I use all the time. This isn't one you're going to see in a box score. This isn't one you're even going to hear me reference a lot. It's more of a niche stat. But if you guys really want me to get into the advanced stats, these are some of those stats that are being talked about and used in the deepest, darkest recesses of anybody's analytics room. They're looking at this stuff. And it goes into why certain players kind of look like they have a decent stat line, but might not get as much interest from teams. That's kind of why I use the Luis Arraez role, because he's a guy that in particular 15, 20 years ago, man, that's a player, right? I mean, he's a hit machine, gets on base all the time. The problem is he doesn't do anything with it once he gets on base because he's slow. He can't field. His hits, well, he's got the slowest bat speed in the league, and they're coming out weak. It doesn't mean that he's not racking up hits. It doesn't mean that what he does doesn't have a place, or it's not important, or you can't have it on your team. If you have a team that hits, a ton of home runs, and you've got room to have a Luis Arraez on your team, I think you increase your chances of those 2 and 3 run homers by having a guy like that as part of your mix. So I think on a certain team, you wouldn't care about the low Wobicon. On a certain team, I think he probably fits perfectly. Honestly, in San Diego, he probably fits pretty well. I don't think they're going to re-sign him, though. I don't know if you guys have heard about their financial woes, but that's going to be a subject on another show this week, because it's another place the Pirates really should try to take advantage. There are teams like the Padres. A report came out that most teams lost money last year, which will add fuel to the CBA fire that is building. But San Diego Padres in particular, they're in a lot of trouble. They've got some guys like Manny Machado signed for a very long time, long past his expected usefulness, for way more money than is tradable. Xander Bogaerts, same thing. Fernando Tatis, they might end up having to move, if only because he's an excellent player that they could get a lot of money off their books, and he's got a good chance of being good for a decent stretch of what contracted out is still there. So we're going to definitely talk about that as this week goes on, because it's a team that you would almost want the Pirates to try to exploit a little bit, but when you really try to dig into it, it's hard to even come up with a scenario for how other teams could help them out of their problem. They tried, and I have a lot of respect for the Padres, but their attempts have failed, and they've locked themselves into having some really hard decisions to make, and or just straight up having a pretty bad downturn here for a while. I mean, I actually think they've finally gotten to the point where they have to quit selling off kids too. They just don't have the financial wherewithal to take on more contracts, and they don't have the kids. They've kind of done most of the magic tricks they could do. But Wobicon will just add a little bit of depth to your conversations when you're talking about some sports. And it gets brought up a lot by people that want to sound super smart when they're trying to tell you why somebody sucks or is good. I wanted you to be armed to be able to fight back, to be honest. That's it for today. The Royals and Pirates are shopping in the same aisle. Will Pittsburgh compete or settle for leftovers? Plus, Gonzalez versus York and why Wobicon matters. We're serious about Pirates baseball because somebody has to be. Let's go Bucks.